Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about the film Jack and the Beanstalk, which is a 1974 animated film from Japan. It has the distinction of actually being the only film called Jack and the Beanstalk. The other various versions of the tale are actually Jack the Giant Slayer or Jack the Giant Killer. This is the only film, feature film at least, with the title Jack and the Beanstalk. So it does have that distinction, and it's an interesting animated film. I don't know if it's necessarily a great or good movie really, but it's definitely interesting. And I know this film definitely has its fans. The only reviews I could find were extremely positive, but they were also filled with a lot of extreme nostalgia for the film. This film was made by the studio Nippon Herald Films in Japan and the group TAC, or group TAC, I guess. And it was directed by Gusaburo Sugi. He worked on Astro Boy, the original Astro Boy animated series. You can kind of see the Astro Boy influence on this film. He went on to direct the Street Fighter II animated movie and the Street Fighter II animated TV show. It looks very Western. It almost feels like the Rankin Bass Hobbit, in which they outsourced it to a different studio. This feels like an American production that was outsourced, but it's actually not, even though it's incredibly Western. I mean, I think it's a lot of Japanese animation is very Western influenced, but this is like the most Western Japanese animated film I think I've ever seen. That kind of why it has such a unique look about it, is it was made in such a different way. And it has a bit of a surreal kind of quality to it. At the beginning, when you have Jack, the normal story, and you know, him and his mom are poor, and he gets the magic beans and stuff, all that is fairly typical, I thought. It does have music, which is very strange, but then when he gets the magic beans and the beanstalk grows, and they have a pretty cool musical sequence with the beanstalk being grown. I guess it was like a song from the perspective of the beanstalk. It was a cool musical number. That was a real highlight. And then when Jack eventually climbs the beanstalk and he meets up with the princess, that part was incredibly surreal and weird. It felt like very melancholy and surreal in a lot of those parts, and it kind of brought me in a lot because I was just like, whoa, what is going on here? It's kind of surreal, weird, strange quality to it. Definitely grabs you and gets you in, but the problem I think I have with the film is really the storytelling. And as cool as the music is, I mean, the music in this film is great because you have a various different genres. Japanese pop, you have progressive music, you have funk, you have, I guess, hard rock. You have a lot of different musical genres that play in the soundtrack of this film, and there's a lot of definitely like cool qualities about it. I can understand why this film has kind of a strong cult following, or a cult following of people who really, really love this film, because it's like it's definitely a unique film. But there's a lot of times with the story, like there was one point towards the end where they just like kind of were like having the camera move around the scenery shot of the castle, or they would have a musical sequence that didn't add that much to the film. It didn't really motivate the story. It was just kind of like to burn time. It's not really lean storytelling. It will be for a little bit, and then they'll like have the dog sing a song for kind of no reason. After a while I got a little just sleepy, just because they have all these weird musical sequences that just don't go anywhere, and it kind of just took me out of it. But overall, I kind of still like the movie just because of its unique look and its unique feel, and the character designs are so strange, and just the music when he gets up to like the Cloud Kingdom is so weird. There's part of me that really kind of likes this movie, and I think if you are an animation fan and you like stuff like the original Astro Boy show or stuff like that, I think you should definitely check out Jack and the Beanstalk, and it's worth a watch at least once. It's on YouTube currently, and this was a film actually when I lived closer to a dollar store. I would go a lot of times with my roommate, and we'd look to see if we could find like kind of weird, obscure public domain animated films, and this was one of them. I remember was there. I only saw bits of it then. It was kind of, he bought it. I didn't really get as into it. I don't want to say this is a bad movie because there's a lot going for it, because the Jack the Giant Slayer is coming out on Friday, and I wanted to do an older Jack and the Beanstalk type of movie, and this seemed to be the most interesting to me. It's definitely the one with the coolest story, I think, just because it's such a weird, strange movie, you know, and it came out in Japan in 1974, and Columbia released it in America in 1974. Sometimes there's movies that are just very interesting, you know, even if they're not very good movies, they're just an interesting watch and an interesting thing to experience. And that to me is definitely Jack and the Beanstalk. So if you have seen Jack and the Beanstalk and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments, and subscribe if you would like to.